The agreement we'll be sharing with you today is realize potential. My commitment is to realize my full potential and to support others in doing the same. Now, when I think about that, realize potential, I believe that if we were to talk to 20 people would probably have different things to say about realizing potential. But for me, what that means is that each of us, every human being on the planet, wherever we are, has the potential, number one, to awaken fully to our divine nature. So I feel that that's something that is open for all of us and is certainly my heart's yearning. And then secondly, to realize our potential has to do with our own unique soul's calling. How do we find out exactly what we're here to do? And that is the beauty of the co-creative process. We call it sometimes the core group process, that when we are together in this resonant field of love, we have the opportunity to make that shift from ego to essence, which is the journey to experiencing ourselves as loving presence, and then also to discover our deeper soul's calling. Thank you.
Well, the word potential for me has transformed during the years as I understand more and more about co-creation and living through the heart. And I used to think of potential as being this long end goal that in 10 years from now, I'll realize my potential. And it was all really based on linear thinking, 3D world, which means all the things I need to do to get to be someone that I want to be when I grow up. And the more I study this, the more I see that realizing my potential is moment to moment. And that if, like Carolyn mentioned, if we are in that frequency of love, which is what is encoded in our essence, we are realizing our potential in that very moment. And it has come from this very laborious goal-setting experience to an ability to be present and to be in that neutral space in the face of a lot of calamity, a lot of things that are unfair around the world, things that hurt our hearts. And that's really, for me, where it is feeling and fulfilling my potential. And the greatest example I have for this right now is as we are bombarded with news about the US administration and all the horrific things that are being done, I have this very 3D, fleshy desire to go out and do a protest in Washington, D.C., you know, and really that might be my thought of my potential coming more from an ego standpoint. And it's also true that I fulfill my potential in that very moment when I have all those emotions, when I decide to bring an attunement into my heart and knowing that me being in that frequency of love, of compassion, of knowing that something else greater than us is working this organism, and that the organism itself is going through its fire and its explosions because it needs to transform. And if when that moment that I come back to that heart and that peace and knowing that I'm in the perfect place, when I connect to that neutrality, I am fulfilling my purpose. And that's good news to me right now, which makes me bring a lot of joy, because I was upset this morning about some things that I've been hearing in the news, and seeing how to bring that to practice right now in this space is to bring that neutrality and understand that my purpose in this very moment is to be in this loving space of knowing all is well. because it is. So that's my contribution about this second agreement. Thank you.
About my potential is that I am really a vehicle or a conduit for expressing spirit and love in the form. And I didn't realize it at the time, but many years ago when I lived in a community of like-minded people, there was a lot of emphasis on what is your intent? What do you deeply intend in your life? And so after many changes, I finally came to the words, I am a yes to life. My intent is that I am a yes to life. And as I have been with that intent now for many years, I keep understanding a deeper level of what that really means. And my understanding right now is that means removing any barrier to the full flow of life force through me. And so this simply for me, living my potential is removing any barrier that I find to the full flow of my life force. And so I find when I do that, this then brings me in touch with joy, with fun, with happiness. So those are not goals. Those are like byproducts of this deeper sense that I have. If I feel some, like in my ego, some obstruction or some emotion that seems not in alignment with the deeper sense of who I am, I look within to work with that. And that allows me to more fully express my full potential. Thank you.
When I try to explain what it feels like to realize my potential, I have 3 words what are coming to me. The one is that I try to step out of judgment about others and myself, because when I step out of this, there is much more space. So again, I go out in a bigger space, and I imagine myself sometimes like a flower. When a flower is in a storm or in rain, and the flower is not thinking about after it if it will stay lying down on the floor. It's always standing up. So for me, unfolding my potential is always like a flower. I stand up again and I'm flourishing, and I go out of with the space. And yes, it's something like stand up and love. Yeah. Yes, my image about it. Thank you.